Welcome to the Aegance Offscript Podcast, where we talk to industry leaders who share their stories, insights, and lessons, unfiltered and unscripted. I'm your host, Lawrence, and today I'm joined by James Houghton, CEO of Radical Cloud Solutions. Now, Radical Cloud Solutions is an IT management and cloud solutions specialist helping organizations across Africa and beyond run their businesses anytime, anywhere. Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 deployments to hosting, cybersecurity, data protection, and digital marketing. They're one of the firms quietly doing the heavy lifting behind modern cloud-driven businesses. James, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here.
Lawrence, thank you very much, and welcome to all the listeners. Thank you for having me on.
It's great having you here. Really excited for the conversation. I wonder if, for the sake of the listeners and viewers, you could just give us a little bit more context around Radical Cloud Solutions, what it is that you guys are doing, areas for operations. I mean, I've positioned it to a certain degree, but I'm sure you can fill in a few of the gaps.
Yes, okay. It's a bit of a broad question. Let me crack on with that. Okay, so just to give a bit of context, we are based primarily out of Mauritius. We do have operations in South Africa, Zambia at the moment, and we are growing through the rest of the African continent as we go. We have been in the market for just over 15 years at the moment. The founder of the business was Mark Houghton, who happens to be my brother. And we've grown from strength to strength. And obviously over the COVID period, that's when it started to soar quite well. Hiring quite a few people through COVID. Everyone needed to get online, and it positioned us very well to then start finding a solution, one-stop shop solution for all the IT companies out there that were struggling to get to the front line with other people that needed to be online. So yes, it's been a very interesting path. Myself, I've been with the company for 6 years. I did 17 years in the motor trade, so I bring a different corporate identity to it with the sales environment, which is what I'm very heavily focused on. And the MD, which Mark is my brother, is very much focused on the backline. So it's a good balance with our team complement of about 15. So I hope that answers it.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. And so when you think about your role at Radical Cloud Solutions, I mean, what do you see as the core decisions that only you are making in the business?
It's sort of studying the market quite a lot, seeing what is out there, what's changing. The landscape in the IT world, as anyone knows that is in it, changes with such speed and ferocity. It's unbelievable. I mean, most of us write exams every 6 months to a year just to stay on top of the changing technology that's out there. So it's sort of watching the market. It's talking, and networking is quite extensive out there, listening to what the suppliers are saying, listening to what the clients and the end users are saying. It's not always easy, but you've got to be really much on the front line and have your finger on the pulse, if it will be, to stay ahead of the game, to make yourself still be relevant. A lot of the people that are stuck on the legacy systems are getting left behind quite quickly. So to be at the forefront, it's networking, talking, it's engaging with your clients on a regular basis, and that's what we try and do. And that's where I drive the team as hard as I can to sort of keep the finger on the pulse, if you will. Well, I've got other team members that are developing things in the background to be able to stay in the forefront of it. So,
from a day-to-day basis, I mean, what sort of information or visibility are you leaning in to keep your finger on the pulse so that you are able to make accurate, timely decisions?
At the moment now, I mean, there's obviously a big trend towards AI. It's storming into the market, and this is one of the most powerful tools out there for us to utilize for market research. You know, following the news, following what's going on with hardware, what's going on with software, what's going on with the big players such as Google, Microsoft, you know, listening to the news, getting AI to stay in front of it, utilizing the strength of its research, and then sort of pivoting the company and the staff to align with those, so you can sort of run in parallel from everything from marketing all the way up to products that they're pushing at the time. There's no point in pushing a product if they're deviating away from it. But the only reason you'll know that is if you obviously go to all the webinars, go to all the trainings, go to get the AI to help with any news updates that happen. So, yeah, it's a lot of chords at one play at the same time. But with a good, strong team that's passionate, it can be done.
And so you operate across a number of verticals. I mean, cloud, cybersecurity, hosting, education, digital marketing, a lot of balls up in the air, as it were. When you zoom out, what's the unifying strategic story that you are trying to build?
Yeah, so basically it's and I've been on the receiving end, which I'm sure many of you listeners have been, where you're sitting in a business and I'm going to use the motor trade where I was for 17 years, and you've got to phone 7 or 8 different service providers to get an issue with your domain on your website or your phone line or something, and you end up phoning several 8 people, and they will blame each other, and it's very frustrating. So that was sort of the niche to consolidate one company as we are, to try and help from start to finish, to build a relationship, but then to sort of pivot ourselves into such a manner where we are actually stack specialists. So we come into a business and we would look at the breakdown of what you do and how you do it, and then we would look at our stack of what we can offer and then say, look, we can add efficiency, we can add time saving, we can add cost saving, we can add all of these different redundancies into your system with what we offer. So that's the idea, is to pivot ourselves to be specialists in the market, to go in and evaluate your business and find out what tools that we have on offer to help that business be the most efficient it can be.
And so with so many balls up in the air referring to those verticals, and obviously you're growing into a number of different countries and sectors, how do you consciously make a decision to pull back and say, okay, we actually can't be everything to everyone, or we need to lean into this?
It's a very on-point question. It is something that we have been balancing for the last 2 to 3 years. And what dictates it is what customers' demands are. You'll go into 10 or 15 meetings over the course of a week, and you'll start to hear clients are asking for certain things, and we'll pivot to it. And then we reevaluate every 2 to 3 months, and we say, okay, look, we haven't sold X, Y, and Z of these products. Let's start to shelf those a little bit more. We still have the expertise for it. We still have the support for it, but we're not going to push the product as much because there is not as much interest for it at the moment, and it seems to be waning off. I then will go and do a bit of research on it and look at what the manufacturers or the OEM of that product are doing. And if it looks like there's a downturn on their side as well, we'll sort of pivot away towards what clients are actually asking for. It does mean a hell of a lot of training. It does mean that we spend a lot of time hitting the books for product knowledge, because that is key. The more knowledge we have on the product, the more powerful it is to engage with the client and be able to find a solution that helps them. So yes, we do run at a very, very thin, tight ship at the moment. But we want our pound of flesh, and that's what we get. So, and that's how we do it.
You've been recognized by partners like DigiCloud Africa and Google for Education, which suggests that you're obviously doing a lot right. So that's amazing. So when a new opportunity lands, maybe it's a new vertical, maybe it's the opportunity to open a new country, it's a new partnership, whatever it may be. What are the criteria that you and your leadership team are using to say, yeah, that's for us, or not right now?
We would obviously chat quite extensively internally. If it's either opening another branch, we look at it financially. Obviously, does it make sense? Is there enough market cap there? Is the product going to suit the market? I mean, there's one golden rule I have in the sales. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use more of what you have and less of what you got. So, listen to what the market's saying, listen to what the client's saying, and the cardinal rule I have is if it works, don't break it. So many times you'll walk into a situation and you'll see either in a market or in a client that they're happy with something, and you go, no, I know how to do this better, and you will sort of steamroll over it. That just upsets the apple cart later on in the relationship. So it's key to as I say, 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen more and speak less, and just try and work and build on what's already there. And if it's not, then start it from scratch and do it well.
Yeah, makes complete sense. I mean, I love the 2 ears and 1 mouth. It makes complete sense to me. So, James, if you think about the next 12 to 24 months, what are the sort of non-negotiables that you want Radical to be known for, regardless of what new tech buzzwords come out and the sort of the fastly shifting nature of tech and AI?
Yeah, so the landscape, as I've alluded to, is changing incredibly quickly, which does make it challenging to keep up. But I think the golden rule is just listen to the customer. Make sure that you amplify what the customer needs and what they want. If you qualify them correctly, and it's all about your product knowledge, qualify the client correctly, and then follow through on what you do. Customer service at the end of the day is something that, if you don't get it right, there's no point in being in the game. And that's a big one for us. Your turnaround time, you're getting back to the client. If you don't have anything to get back to them, just get back to them and say, hey, listen, I haven't forgotten. It's a customer service. And I know when I first joined and look, as I said, my brother was in it, Mark was in it a lot longer than I have been. There wasn't really that customer service that you would get in sort of some of the brands that I've worked in the motor trade. And I've sort of said, let's develop that into it, where it becomes a pleasure to have an IT company on your book, and not a hindrance or a pain in the cost, if you will. You should have a good working relationship. You should be part of their team, and that's kind of where it's non-negotiable. Keep in touch with your clients, build that relationship, build that rapport, and then obviously build the stack on what they've got. You don't just sell one product and walk away. Get to the client, find out what their need is, supply the need, and then go in and say, look, could we have a friendly chat and see what other struggles you're having in your environment, and see what we can bring to the party to, again, help them with efficiency, help them with cost saving and timing. And that builds the relationship to a point where you've got almost a friendship with a customer relation than you do just a number. No one likes to be treated like a number. And that's sadly what happens out there with the competitiveness of the world. So yeah, that's non-negotiable for us. It's customer service.
Certainly aligns with the way that we operate here at Aegance as well, is that looking to develop a relationship beyond, as you say, just being another number on a spreadsheet, essentially.
I mean, that if you look at sort of our sales figures there, we have a sort of 70% of all current business is existing clientele. And that in itself is proof that, once you build that rapport and that relationship, referrals come out of it, everything comes out of it. And so often in so many industries out there, you have to speak to an AI bot or an automated email or, and it's so frustrating. People actually still want to talk to a human being and sort of say, listen, help me fix this, hold my hand through it. And you take that element out of it, it doesn't matter how proficient you are, you're always going to miss the mark with someone that's not tech savvy, that just needs a human interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. So James, if we lean into your systems processes, some of the tech and your decision intelligence, I mean, you're obviously running some critical services, things like email, hosting, backups, security, migrations, a lot of moving parts there. And then to sort of double down on that, it's across multiple regions. How are you able to keep a handle on the operational health in real time?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's communication's key to it all. We have endless meetings with staff. I'm always checking in with the ops manager. I'm checking in with the sales manager and vice versa. Talking to deployments. I implore my team to try to jump into each other's meetings as much as possible, so everyone's on the same sync. I mean, yes, you've got your different versions of CRMs and stuff that you can track all of it through, and your financial sides of it. But at the end of the day, it's down to communication. And with the evolution now of everything being cloud-based, from Google Workspace to Azure and Microsoft and all of it, it does make it a lot easier to have meeting rooms and meetings such as this and shared drives and OneDrives and all the rest of the technology that comes with it, that you can see if work is being done or not. I mean, my staff are flung far and wide, from Zim all the way down to PE. Some of them I've never even met after 5 years face to face, but we talk every day. It's having that fluidity in the team and a great communication and the passion of the team wanting to get online and make a difference and share their knowledge, not only with the client, but internally. That really is a key factor to what we do.
So beyond that communication, I mean, obviously that internal communication is key. But beyond that, do you have something like a radical command center that's got a couple of dashboards that everyone kind of keeps an eye on to make sure that
we are in the process of building our own solution for that. We've had many other solutions such as Zoho, HubSpot. There's a few different systems that we do run. But we found that there's little niches of it that we need for the particular setup that we run. So we are in the process of building, and it should go live by the end of this year. And then, probably do a catch-up and I'll do a demo if you'd like for that. But obviously with all the different rebates that you get and all the different price increases and the different pricing SKUs from Microsoft to Google to Acronis, to track all of that and have it in one location that is linked with APIs to keep it live, to keep it current. We also have internal websites that we've set up for, from talking to a client to closing a client to handing it over. We actually built that onto internal websites, and we have those step-by-steps with integrated live forms and notifications and app scripts that are running and app sheets and a whole bunch. So there's a plethora of tools. There's not one tool that works for all of it. You have to sort of amalgamate all of them to talk into it. But as I said, with AI, that's now evolving even further, because now you can interact with, for instance, Gemini with an API, plug it into your app script, and it can now automate your emails, automate your documents, automate your replies. It can build, spreadsheets across the entire company to pull all the data points into one, which you then share with the team and say, here's renewals, for instance, this is coming up, this is what's happening. So what works today might be different tomorrow, and that's the interesting and intricate part of what we do. And it's a good challenge to wake up every morning and say, all right, what's changed? Keeping up with it. I had hair before I started, so but no, I thoroughly enjoy how fast the landscape is changing, and there is no right tool for the system right now. There's just, you've got to amalgamate all of them and do what works for you. And that means having a finger on the pulse with your team and with your clients and with your products.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've also noted that you play in the zero ecosystem, with integrations into inventory, point of sale, warehousing tools, and that probably just compounds the complexity. I mean, how do you go about stitching those systems together in a way that's still scalable for your team?
So, I mean, I'll start on the sales side, because we've got obviously sales and after sales. So on the sales side, you'll obviously target the clientele base. We'll look at Zero, and Zero obviously goes into products like Unleashed and Deer and Sin7 and these products. And then once you find the client from that, we will go through the whole qualifying stage. We'll actually have 2 or 3 meetings of qualifying the client. Then it goes to the backline and it goes to deployment, where we have a dedicated person that is trained specifically on that to do deployments, to do, if there's issues, to do R&D on these issues and figure out what's going on. It also means that person is responsible for communicating directly with the supplier. And that is challenges we've had in the past, that if the supplier from overseas is not on point, it makes it very difficult for us in the market to give good service. And we've actually had to bin a few products where we can't get it from the manufacturer a timely reply or a decent answer, and then it puts egg on our face, and we're not really willing to do that. So we will then slowly but surely fade it out, pivot onto another one. But it's having dedicated people in our team that are specialized in those areas. So you can sort of say, right, I've got a point of sale system or an inventory management. We'll throw it over to the person that's strongest at that point. And they sort of have their little corridors that they are specialized in. So it doesn't cross-pollinate too much.
And James, you've alluded to artificial intelligence a couple of times in the conversation so far. Maybe just give us a high-level snapshot around where you are on that roadmap. There's obviously some plans in the works right now. Where do you want to be in the next 12 months from an AI implementation perspective internally?
Internally, I mean, we're pushing very hard internally. We are automating a lot of our systems now with AI integration. We use obviously Microsoft and we use Google. So you've got Copilot, you've got Gemini, very strong on their independent platforms, but there are other things, especially with the Gemini model at the moment. You've got the anti-gravity app that you can now download and use on your computer. We'd like to be market leaders in it, to go into an organization or a business, sort of SMB or enterprise, and say, right, listen, these are the tools that you have on AI. This is what we can automate. This is the efficiency we can bring to it. And sort of a message I'd actually like to get out to everyone out there is that there is a big fear in the market at the moment with clients that I speak to that say, oh, well, AI is going to replace some of our jobs. Yes and no. My advice to the people that haven't adopted AI is get on with it. It can be your friend. It's not your enemy. If you've got 2 colleagues on the same playing field in the office, one adopts AI and one doesn't, the person that's adopted the AI will be able to get more workload done, over 20% extra efficiency during the course of a day. And that at the end of the day will just show better performance for one employee and not the other, although they might be neck and neck. So don't be scared of it, adopt it. And that's where I'd like my team to pivot towards, to be able to say to your employees, listen, come, let's do the training. Let me show you how this can work for you. I mean, it's like having 25 grad students sitting on your shoulder to do all the research that you need to do, or building an app script, or it's so powerful to be able to automate things that the sooner people adopt it, the easier their workflow is going to be, the more time they're going to save, the more enjoyment they're going to be able to have to get to the projects that matter. The ones that go, oh, it's AI and I'm sort of BC before computers, I don't want to touch it. Sadly, they're going to hit a bit of a brick wall with it. They're going to have to adopt it. And I'd like to position the team and the company to be able to be market leaders for that, because it's not going anywhere. In fact, with all the data centers that are popping up now, and the amount of power that they're putting into this AI, it's unbelievable.
And I mean, certainly the conversations that I've had in the last 6 months around how the market is responding to AI is that, yes, you're right. There was initially that fear that it would replace us essentially, but that's now starting to shift into how can we use it to augment us and make us far more efficient. I mean, as you rightfully say, get on board now rather than later, because some operators that I've spoken to about it that have been in the artificial intelligence space for a lot longer than I have, and for a lot longer than most people that I've spoken to, are saying there's kind of a cliff that we're all being pushed towards, and there will come a point where we'll be off the cliff, and whether you've got the wings to fly is really based on the decisions that you're making now. So it's super interesting. I mean, the ability to say to someone, well, if I can save you as 20% of every employee's day, you sort of compound that over a period of time, and imagine putting 20% more work into areas of a business that actually drive it forward.
Yes, I mean, when you start to scale that up to corporations with 250, 500 to 1,000 users, I mean, that becomes a very large number very, very quickly. And also with automation of it, there's less mistakes to be made. And that's the other thing, which saves time and money in the long run. I'm never, ever wish to replace an employee. It's to empower them. And that's the key to it here is to take maybe an old employee that's not a fan of it and just show them the basics of just prompting AI, because it's all down to the correct prompt and you can get amazing results out of it. So, yeah. I must say the other side of it, just to deviate off this a bit, is we are looking at the hardware side of things. We tried it with COVID, just before COVID, and that had a bit of a hiccup with obviously stock worldwide. But now with this whole movement of AI, all the chips have been bought up by all the factories. So there's now a 2-year waiting list. So you're going to see on the hardware segment, there's going to be a whole different shift there as well, especially with the AI, because it's so powerful and everyone's piling so much money and sort of focus into it at the moment that it's going to be a big global shift, not just for the AI, but for the hardware that ties into it as well. So
you operate in a crowded space. When a new prospect hears Radical Cloud Solutions for the first time, what do you want to be the one thing that sticks in their mind about you?
Proficiency, getting the job done, getting it done on time or before the time is needed. Friendly, user friendly. That's another one that you reach out to someone, you want to call back, you want to have interaction with someone that's knowledgeable, that cares about your business, that understands that you need to move to the next level and can figure out what it is to get you there. So proficiency, professionalism, and just an open door policy where you can build that relationship.
And have you found certain sectors get you faster than others?
No, not yet. Once I do, I'd let you know. But I mean, we target all sorts of industries and we target all sorts of countries. I mean, obviously the African continent is what we focus on. I sort of, from my personal perspective, feel that Africa was neglected back in the day. When it came to technology, there is a definite need and a want through all the African countries that I speak to, all the way up to Egypt, that are very, very keen to get into the latest and greatest technology. And it's just people haven't got the time or don't spend the time getting into it. It is obviously a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a price sensitive market on the African continent. And, you deal with a lot of the OEMs in Europe that go, okay, here's a client, close them, and they phone you in a month. But in Africa, it's about building a relationship. It's about building the trust with the client, and then walking that road, for all the training, because they're jumping out of old legacy systems straight into the cloud system. So it's not just a sort of, oh, well, you're half used to the system, deploy and walk away. There's a lot of change management and holding of hands that needs to happen, and that is key to what we do. And there's a huge market in Africa for it. There's a lot of countries. I mean, As I said, we've got staff up in Zim and Zambia. The need is there. It's just if we can get the pricing right and the service level correct, there's plenty of opportunity out there. So
yeah, absolutely. And if we could sort of lean into the pricing point that you've just raised and the sensitivities that come with the African market. I've got some experience previously selling cybersecurity products into East Africa and fully understood and can appreciate that when I'm positioning a US dollar based solution in front of a Kenyan organization or a Kenyan firm, kind of blows the conversation out the water immediately when they start to do the calculations in their minds. How do you navigate that?
So we hold a lot of meetings with the likes of Google and Microsoft and Acronis and all the other products we provide. I try and do a 2-week or at least a 1-month check-in with all of them. And I always put it at the top of my agenda to say, guys, if we can look at a pricing structure or we can look at a rebate system to benefit the client, I'm happy to pass it on to the client because I'm looking to build a stack with the client in the relationship. Nowadays, it's having one product, one client. It's not really, it doesn't work as well. You've got to have a stack with a client of products that you can help them out. So I always fight and advocate for the pricing for the African continent as hard as I can with all the manufacturers that I speak to. So that's how I deal with it.
And how is that taken?
They don't always like it. They don't always like it. But I mean, when the new incentives come out, I'll campaign for a client, even if there's a sort of 20% discount that's on the table for, say, I don't know, Google solution. I will always go back and say, look, the client will close the deal because of X, Y, and Z. Can you do a little bit more? So I'll always advocate further down. Plus, another thing that they do, and I try and also push, is locking the client in. And it's not always great to lock a client in because, you take away the freedom. But if you put them onto a commitment and lock them in on commitment, you can actually protect them from any price increases. Some of the contracts that are out there go for 3 years. So if there is a price increase in the market, the client is shielded from it, which is nice. So there are ways around it that you can do. There are finance facilities that we can use as well if they are ordering hardware or if they're ordering licenses that they need to pay on a slightly different time frame. So there are ways to work around it. But I keep pushing back to the manufacturers and saying, you need to understand Africa is price sensitive and you need to play accordingly in that realm. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've noticed that you publish several client stories, which obviously suggest really strong outcomes for you. How do you use those stories in your growth engine across your sales team?
Well, look, I mean, it displays the. Let me go back to how it starts. Basically, with a success story, we try and do it on every deployment, and in order to get a success story out of it. It's not just a rate us out of 5 stars. It's an engagement with the client to say, once you've done the handover and the project is signed off, we do sort of a pre-interview after that to say, were you happy? Where can we improve our services? What can we do better? Was there anything we missed or anything that annoyed you or anything that you thought we didn't focus on? Once we do that sort of exit interview with the client, we then write the story. We then ask them if they are happy with the story. So it is as truth to the truth as possible. We don't just blag it and publish it. We get authorization from the client. So then it's like a badge. It shows that we've done our work. People are more than happy to phone those people and verify those stories because they are published. And I think it's the best way to show that you put your money where your mouth is and back up what you do. We don't. The same with the Google ratings. If you see 1 or 2 bad ones, it's part and parcel of the game. You can't please everyone. There's no such thing as a perfect score out there. But yeah, we engage with our clients and build a relationship because once you've done the first deployment, that's just one of many. We're then going to come back and continuously have additional chats about different products that we can help for either cloud backup or security or whatever it may be. So it's very important to get those stories out there and show people that we've got a good relationship. It's not just a fictitious AI setup that's cut and paste and stuck on a blog somewhere. It's a legitimate relationship that we are displaying.
Yeah, absolutely. And how does that then transition into your sales team? And I mean, are they relying quite heavily on
validation? It gives validation. That's the bottom line of it. It gives validation to what we're doing and our capabilities and how we can do it. I mean, if you see some of the names on there and some of the businesses, it gives validation that we are capable of taking on the small and the big businesses and giving them the same amount of level and service that they deserve. Whether it's 10 seats or 1,000 seats, it doesn't matter. The level and the standard is there, and those stories show it. And then when we go into talking to a new customer, you've got to build that rapport and that trust and that relationship. And to do it, you display those stories and say to them, look, these are our badges of honor, if you will, of what we've done. Go and interview those people. Go and chat to them. Go and have a look and see. So that's how it helps with us. It gives us validation in the marketplace to back up what we're doing and what we're saying.
And to provide further validation, I mean, awards like Partner of the Year and most customer success stories, those are super strong proof points. Have you found that those have changed the type of clients that come knocking on your door?
Yes, I would like to say it gives us more validation to some of the bigger clients. I mean, you find with the SMB and enterprise clients, they network in amongst themselves. So when you come across a client of that size, they go, oh, well, who are you? What are you? But when you have all these accolades on the balcony in such a short period of time, and you've got all these success stories, it gives them, again, more validation to go, okay, this is a reputable company. They've obviously worked really hard and diligently to get all these awards and all these success stories. So it must be worth having a conversation. And once we get into the door with a conversation, you can see that there's a well-qualified, articulate salesperson at the end of the day that can evaluate your needs and then bring in the experts to deploy. And it's just, for me, it's getting the foot in the door. And to a certain degree, it really has helped. It also gets you higher up on the ranking of the likes of Google, for instance, where, as a premium partner that we are, you do get sort of more preference to send a bigger client because we are able to handle the bigger clients with change management.
If you look back over the last few years of growth, what's one decision that you'd absolutely repeat? And then conversely to that, what's one that you'd approach differently with the benefit of hindsight?
Yeah, that's a challenging one. I think just building good team and camaraderie is one that I would not deviate away from and never change. We've got a young, vibrant, dynamic, very passionate team, and if your employees are happy and your employees are motivated and driven, the rest of it just falls into place. With your happy customers and keeping up with the product and the changes, that's something I would really sort of implore to anyone in the workplace. Check in with your staff. Where the tacky hits the tarmac is the most important thing. So that's something I wouldn't. On the negative side, I don't know. There's so many things that have and have not worked, but again, it's just trying to push products down a client that either can't afford it or is not sure about the product is a big no-no, and that's something I'd probably steer away from. And it's training the staff internally to recognize those signs. Whereas you sign a client up, get them onto a product, and it's not the solution. It's a painful process to undo. It's a painful process to fix. So that's something I wouldn't repeat. And it all comes down to training, and it all comes down to product knowledge and passion.
And when you think about the next chapter for Radical, what feels most exciting for you? And then again, conversely, what's keeping you up at night?
The geopolitical situation that goes on at the moment. It changes so quickly with the US and with China and Africa being stuck in the middle of all of it. We just don't know what the market's going to throw at us next, with trading tariffs that go on. I mean, the first 6 months of 2025, everyone was sort of bracing for impact. We didn't know what was going on. And then sort of in the middle of the year, everyone's like, we can't just sit tight anymore. We have to get on with work and business. And then you started to see the sales rolling in again and deployments. And, it's the uncertainty of the market that trying to find a niche where we can stay strong and relevant with the changing evolvement. The exciting thing is that the African continent is geared and ready for it, and that there is plenty out there. There's plenty of pie for everyone. And it's building that footprint through the rest of Africa, which we're very excited about, because there's plenty of opportunity out there to strengthen companies out there. I mean, from something as easy and as simple as fundamentals for Google Education, which is free, which is a package I'm very passionate about, to go into schools that cannot afford it and still give them the 21st century state-of-the-art technology to use for free. And then once they adopt and they're happy, they have the choice to upgrade it. I mean, that I'm very excited about, because that builds a client for the next generation. It's not just for that business. These kids are growing up on an environment that they get used to, and they go into the business place one day. You're going to see that evolve for the longevity of the company and the growth pattern through Africa. So that's the negative and the positive for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you were to sit down 3 years from now and say, we really nailed it, what would need to be true for your clients and for your team?
I think for my team, I'd like to see all my team members have another team member underneath them. So, to manage another team member, to grow themselves within the business. I've always maintained that this is a business within a business, and then they must run it accordingly. So I'd like to see all of them promoted to the next level and the next step, and a whole new growth pattern with new people coming in. And then for the clients is just to continue their growth pattern with our support, to show them the tools that we know are very powerful, to be able to give them a good service, good value for money, and their growth come out with us. That would be the win for it, definitely.
Amazing. And James, if our listeners and viewers want to connect with you and the broader team at Radical, where's the best place for them to do that?
Pop straight to our website. We've got a live chat there where you can jump on and talk to any of my team members, their sales and after sales. Reach out to me at james@radicalcloudsolutions.com. We don't hide from people. Our information's on the website. South African-based companies, we've got people on the ground in South Africa, Zambia. We as I said, we can jump on a meeting whenever anyone's ready throughout the whole of Africa. It's not we do cloud-based, so the time and turnaround is a lot quicker, which is nice. So please do feel free to get in touch, and even if it's just for a chat, even if it's just to explore ideas. We're not going to sit billing people to brainstorm. I'd rather get to know and network with people out there and have the conversations and share the passion that myself and my team have got for what we do, than sit there and hog it to ourselves and not have people grow around us.
Yeah, well, James, thank you so much for making the time to join us on the podcast today. It really has been a fascinating conversation, diving into Radical, its internal processes and some of the systems, talking about your role and the driving strategic vision for the company, as well as leaning into some of the acquisition strategies, etc. And then obviously looking at what you are hoping to achieve in the years ahead. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the listeners. I really appreciate the time and the effort. So we'll be in touch. Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of the Aegance Offscript Podcast. If this conversation sparked something, a thought, a question, or a new way of seeing your own business, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.